Assalamualaikum Sobat TekaTekiJaman. Ini adalah aerogel, material solid paling ringan di dunia. Massa jenisnya juga paling rendah dari material padat yang pernah ada di bumi. Beratnya hanya 1,22 gram. Bagaimana bisa seringan itu? Mari kita ikutin penelusuran Veritasium ke laboratorium pembuatan aerogel di Boston. Sebelum kita bahas lebih lanjut, tolong video ini di like, subscribe, dan nyalakan lonceng notifikasinya ya.
We are going to try an experiment to demonstrate the insulating power of aerogel. So over here we have two setups, one with a glass petri dish and the other one with aerogel on top. Keduanya terbuat dari silika, tetapi memiliki perbedaan struktur fisik.
We're going to see how long it takes to melt these chocolate bunnies with a Bunsen burner.
Now to have a look at this experiment, we have a Fleur T1020, which can see temperatures up to 2,000 degrees Celsius.
It's getting pretty hot.
Yeah, you can see that the glass is getting really hot already.
Dan setelah 1 menit,
Smoke.
Oh, okay.
It's definitely melting and smoking. Oh yeah, here we go. I would say that that's a phase change.
We've got a liquid chocolate situation. We have some smoking bunny. Over here, the bunny is actually sort of melting over, and look, it's sort of tilting to the side.
All right, I think we're gonna call that a melt.
What is that?
Oh, on cue, on cue. I would say that that's a material film.
tidak hanya coklat yang meleleh dengan cepat, tapi kacanya pun ikut pecah. Dan sekarang kita coba pada aerogel.
So how was aerogel invented?
Back in 1931, a guy named Professor Samuel Kistler had a bet with his colleague, Charles Learned.
Now the bet revolved around jellies, like peanut butter and jelly jellies.
Berbicara tentang jelly, yang merupakan kombinasi antara material cair dan padat. Sebagian besar adalah cairan yang tertanam dalam struktur padat 3 dimensi.
So if you think of a gel like Jell-O, has a skeleton with nano-sized pores that gives it its rigidity, and then that's about 1% of the gel.
So the bet was this: could you remove the liquid from the jelly without affecting the solid structure?
Ini berarti jika kita hanya menghilangkan material cairnya, maka struktur padatnya akan ikut menyusut.
Because as you remove liquid molecules, they pull on each other and they pull on the solid structure around them, basically crumpling it from the inside. Now, Samuel Kistler solved this problem in 2 ways. First, he realized you could replace one liquid with another inside the jelly just by washing it thoroughly. So you could swap out, say, water for alcohol. And then, if you take the jelly and put it in a high-pressure vessel called an autoclave,
By heating it to the high temperature and high pressure point called the critical point of the liquid, that liquid transformed into a semi-liquid semi-gas called a supercritical fluid.
at this point, there is no longer a distinction between liquid and gas. Those molecules are no longer pulling on each other.
And so once you've depressurized the vessel, that solid skeleton, that 1% of the mass of the gel is left behind intact, except for where there was liquid in the pores before is now gas. And that solid skeleton, that nanoporous solid, is what we call aerogel.
Kistler mempublikasikan temuannya pada tahun 1931.
It is getting pretty hot, as you can see through the thermal camera.
Dan setelah 3 menit, masih belum terlihat tanda-tanda coklatnya meleleh.
So we're going to pull out a thermocouple and just check the temperature underneath the bunny, like underneath the aerogel, and see what the flame temperature is. You can kind of see that the parts of the bunny are getting hot, but it's not the bottom of the bunny, it's all the around the bunny.
Exactly. That convective heat is moving up and around the aerogel.
So you can see the thing is getting red hot.
Dan setelah 4 menit, coklatnya mulai meleleh.
Pretty good though, considering how easy it is to melt chocolate.
Can I put my finger here?
Be careful. It's not that it's hot, it's that it's brittle.
Right.
But yeah, totally cool to touch, right?
It is just warm to the touch.
He made aerogels out of all sorts of things. He made them out of eggs. He made them out of rubber, out of nitrocellulose. And included in there was silica. Actually, right here on the table, I have some examples of some silica gels. This is a wet silica gel. It's kind of rubbery, so I can just, carve out a piece. It is 95% 7% alcohol inside of its pores, and then the remaining 3% solid is amorphous silica.
Can I touch it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of rubbery, not that strong.
So was I cracking it there, or was it already kind of cracked?
No,
whoa.
It's very easy to break, very crumbly.
Langkah berikutnya menukar alkohol di dalam gel dengan CO2 cair.
We're about to see liquid CO2.
CO2 cair memiliki kelebihan tidak mudah terbakar dan titik kritikal suhu yang rendah.
Open up and
I see it flooding in there.
yeah, it's flooding in. There it goes. Just another solvent.
You can clearly see it's just so much cooler on top. What temperature is it on the bottom?
We're at 600 right now. 600
degrees
Celsius.
Celsius.
That's
Getting it melted,
1250 Fahrenheit
results,
right now.
Whoa.
Notice where the bunny is melting. It's melting right on that edge where the heat's, like the flame's kind of crawling up and over. So again, that's
Oh, bunny down.
well, not a bad result.
Not a bad result at all. I'm interested in tasting some of this chocolate here.
Gross. Is it hot?
It's warm.
Warm.
And delicious.
It's like fondue.
That was great.
Ketika CO2 cair telah mengisi pori-pori gel, tiba saatnya supercritical fluid.
It was, I would say, kind of a spiritual experience the first time that I saw supercritical fluid. We'll get to do that here.
I love how much you're into these autoclaves.
I love aerogels. To make a supercritical fluid, we can heat this with a hairdryer actually.
As we approach the critical point, the surface of the liquid becomes kind of blurry.
Weird, huh? That is like weird waves in there.
Yeah.
Kita coba percepat agar bisa langsung terlihat permukaan yang sudah bersih.
You're now looking at the supercritical fluid of CO2. In this state, the CO2 can be vented without affecting the solid structure, and what you're left with is aerogel.
If you look at aerogel on a light background, it's almost impossible to see because it is pretty transparent. But if you look at it on a dark background, then you can see that it has a slight bluish color. And it's bluish for the same reason that the sky is blue, because all those tiny little nanoscale structures, they scatter the light according to Rayleigh scattering. And the intensity of light scattered is proportional to 1 over wavelength to the power of 4, which means it scatters shorter wavelengths like blue much more than it scatters yellow or red.
Dan untuk alasan itulah aerogel terlihat buram di bawah ultraviolet dan transparan di bawah inframerah.
Now, what do you think this would look like if I held it up to the blue sky? What do you think we would see? Would it look ultra blue? No, it looks yellow. And that's because the aerogel is actually scattering out that blue light, and so what passes through and makes it to our eyes is the longer wavelengths like the yellows and oranges. It's basically the same effect as looking at a sunset. When you see the yellows and oranges of a sunset, it's because the blue light has already been scattered out by the atmosphere the light had to pass through before it reached your eyes. So effectively, looking at aerogel against blue sky is like looking at a portable sunset.
Pori-pori nano aerogel juga membuatnya menjadi isolator panas yang baik.
That's awesome.
Does that look hot?
It's definitely hot.
You might think that because aerogel is largely comprised of air, like 99% air, that it has the same thermal properties as air, but that is not correct. It's actually a better insulator than air is.
Ini karena lebar pori-porinya lebih kecil dari lebar rata-rata yang bisa dilalui oleh molekul udara. Kondisi ini disebut mean free path. Sangat sulit bagi molekul udara panas di bagian bawah untuk bisa bergerak cepat dan melaluinya, apalagi mentransfer panas ke bagian atas aerogel. Kondisi seperti ini disebut Knudsen effect.
It is so weird because, you don't expect something that's transparent to block the heat that well, but this really does.
Itu sebabnya NASA menggunakan aerogel pada misi Sojourner rover, Spirit and Opportunity, Curiosity rover, dan NASA juga berencana menggunakannya pada misi ke planet Mars.
Why does it need insulation?
The electronics, because they don't want the electronics to get cold during the cold nights on Mars.
NASA juga menggunakan aerogel sebagai media yang menangkap partikel debu dari meteor di luar angkasa pada misi Stardust.
So the particles were traveling about 6 kilometers per second relative to the aerogel. So when they hit the aerogel, because the aerogel's a very low density material, very, very porous material, the particles actually enter the aerogel, and as they travel through the aerogel, they basically break apart the network that makes up the aerogel, and they lose energy in the process and eventually come to a stop. This is good for capturing particles because if a particle like that were to hit a solid surface, then it just stops, immediately.
And just
vaporizes.
So, should we expect to see aerogel in our everyday lives anytime soon?
One of my running jokes is when they build skyscrapers in Antarctica, they'll use aerogel as thermal insulation.
Why do you say that?
Well, because then they'll really care about how thermal efficient it is, because it'd be so cold there.
Right.
So instead of having, 10 feet of fiberglass insulation, you could have 6 inches or something of aerogel.
Para ilmuwan terus berupaya untuk mengurangi biaya produksi dan meningkatkan daya tahan.
And that's true. They do have some elastic
Okay.
Yeah. So there we go. So it is not hard to break.
Mereka juga telah banyak membuat kemajuan, seperti dengan menambahkan hidrofilik ke dalam silika.
There we go. Now this is a hydrophilic aerogel.
So once we've done this, is that piece of aerogel ruined now?
Pretty much.
Mereka juga membuatnya tahan terhadap air. Jika kalian ingin melihat semua generasi aerogel selanjutnya, jangan lupa terus ikutin channel ini.